It was a night when the sky looked bruised, a deep gray folding into black, heavy clouds pressing down on the small town below. Emma walked quickly, her arms wrapped tightly around her body, her steps echoing in the empty street. The streetlights flickered like half-hearted prayers, struggling to stay alive against the wind. She had been walking for hours, though she didn't know where she was going. She only knew she couldn't go back, not to the house filled with shouting, not to the memories that screamed louder than any voice she could bear. She wanted silence, but silence never came. When she turned the corner near the park, she saw a figure, tall, still, standing by the bench beneath the flickering light. Her heart pounded, every muscle tensed. Fear took control before thought could. The sound of footsteps behind her felt like 1,000 warnings. She spun around, her voice breaking the night. "Stay away," she screamed. Her breath came out in clouds, her eyes wide with panic. And for a moment, the world froze. But then came a sound she did not expect. Not the harsh echo of anger, not the cold laughter of cruelty, but a voice soft as morning rain. "I'm not like them." The words were simple, but they carried something, a stillness, a gentleness that reached beyond fear. Emma stood still, every instinct telling her to run. But something in that voice made her hesitate. It wasn't the words themselves, it was the way they were said, calm, grounded, sure, like someone who had nothing to prove, only something to share. She didn't answer. She just stared. He didn't move closer, he didn't try to convince her. He simply stood there, letting the quiet stretch between them. Then, slowly, he said, "Sometimes the world hurts us so deeply that we learn to fear even the hand that means to heal us." His voice trembled slightly, not with weakness, but with compassion. Emma wanted to say something, but the words were trapped behind years of mistrust. She lowered her gaze, muttered something under her breath, and walked away, but the echo of his words followed her. That night, she couldn't sleep. The rain beat against her window like a rhythm of old memories. She lay awake, thinking of all the faces that had taught her to fear, the promises broken, the laughter that turned cruel, the touch that didn't comfort. Somewhere in the darkness, her heart whispered, "I just want peace." It was the first honest prayer she had said in years. Days turned into weeks. Emma returned to the park often, not to meet him, but because something about that place calmed her. And sometimes, he was there, sitting quietly, feeding the birds, reading from a small book. He never approached her. He never forced conversation. Yet his presence began to feel like a mirror, showing her not what she feared, but what she could become. One afternoon, unable to bear her curiosity, she asked, "Why are you always here?" He smiled gently and said, "Because peace lives where patience waits." She frowned, not understanding. He continued, "I come here to listen, to the wind, to the silence, to the voice that guides me. It reminds me that the world isn't as cruel as our pain makes it seem." Emma sat across from him that day, far enough to feel safe, but close enough to hear. They spoke little, yet somehow, she felt lighter. For the first time, her heart didn't race when someone looked at her with kindness. It was as if his stillness created a space where she could breathe. She began to write again, not long poems or stories, just words. Words like faith, healing, and trust. Every night, she wrote, "I want peace." And soon, that sentence became, "I choose peace." But healing isn't a straight line. One evening, while walking home, she heard footsteps behind her. Again. Instantly, her chest tightened, and her mind screamed, "Not again." She turned sharply, ready to defend herself, and it was him. The same gentle man, the same calm eyes. But this time, she shouted angrily, "Why are you following me? I told you to stay away." He stopped, hands raised, voice steady. "I wasn't following you. I was walking home too. But I see you're still fighting ghosts that aren't here anymore." She froze. His words struck a nerve. She wanted to deny it, to scream, but tears fell instead. "You don't know what I've been through," she whispered. "You don't know what it's like to live every day waiting for someone to hurt you again." He looked at her with compassion. "You're right," he said softly. "I don't know your pain. But I know what it means to live in fear. I know what it's like to build walls so tall that even love cannot climb them. I know how heavy loneliness feels when it's dressed as protection." His voice broke slightly, and she could see it. This man wasn't speaking as a teacher. He spoke as someone who had walked through his own darkness. They stood in silence, the sound of rain filling the space between them. For the first time, Emma didn't run. She simply stood there and let herself be seen. Days passed, and something began to shift inside her. She noticed small things, the way the morning light spilled gently across her window, the laughter of children in the park, the smell of wet earth after rain. These things had always been there, but she had been too guarded to notice. Now, they spoke to her of life, of presence, of faith. One evening, she found herself sitting beside him on the bench. "Do you really believe peace is possible?" she asked quietly. He smiled. "Peace is not something we find," he said. "It's something we remember. It's already inside us, buried under fear, pain, and noise. The journey isn't about searching for peace outside. It's about returning to it within." She looked down at her hands. "But what if I'm too broken?" she asked. He shook his head gently. "Broken things still reflect light. Sometimes more beautifully than whole ones." Those words lingered in her mind long after she went home. That night, she knelt by her bed, something she hadn't done since she was a child, and whispered, "If peace really lives inside me, please, show me the way back." It wasn't a formal prayer, it was a surrender. Weeks turned into months. Emma began to change, not suddenly, but quietly. She smiled more, trusted small things again. She learned to sit with her fears instead of fighting them. When painful memories returned, she didn't run. She breathed through them, whispering, "I'm safe now." But healing always tests the heart. One afternoon, while walking past a cafe, she saw a man who looked exactly like someone from her past, someone who had once broken her in ways words could not describe. Panic gripped her. The world blurred. She ran outside, gasping, trembling. Her old voice returned, the one that shouted, "Stay away." She sank to her knees on the street, tears streaming down her face. Then she heard it again, that gentle voice. "Emma." She looked up. It was him, the same man from the park. He knelt beside her and said quietly, "You're safe. It's only a shadow. It can't hurt you anymore." She buried her face in her hands and sobbed. "Why does it still feel real?" He smiled sadly. "Because healing doesn't erase the past. It teaches you how to walk through it without losing your peace." That night, Emma wrote again in her journal, "Peace is not the absence of pain. It is the courage to keep the heart open when pain tries to close it." Spring came. The trees in the park began to bloom again. Emma sat on the bench one morning, the sun warm on her skin. "You were right," she said to him as he joined her. "Peace isn't something I had to find. It was waiting inside me all along." He nodded. "And now you know what faith really means, trusting that love was always with you, even in the silence." She turned to him. "Who are you, really?" He smiled, eyes soft, light dancing in them. "Someone who once needed to hear the same words I told you. Someone who once screamed, 'Stay away,' until a voice said to me, 'I'm not like them.' I only passed the message forward." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." He smiled gently. "Don't thank me. Thank the one who sent peace to find you." And just like that, he stood up and walked away, leaving her with sunlight, birdsong, and the unshakable sense that she wasn't alone. From that day on, Emma lived differently. She smiled at strangers. She forgave people who never apologized. She spoke kindly to herself. And sometimes, when she sat quietly, she could still hear that voice, not from outside, but within, whispering, "I'm not like them. I am peace. I am love. I am with you." Her scream had become her song. Her fear had become her teacher. Her pain had become her doorway to faith. She had learned that the gentlest voice often speaks the loudest truth, that even when we are afraid to trust, the universe, God, or whatever you call the divine, waits patiently until we are ready to listen. So, dear listener, maybe you too have screamed, "Stay away," maybe not out loud, but in your heart. Maybe you've pushed away love, light, or help because you were afraid it would hurt like it did before. But remember this, not everyone who approaches your life is there to break you. Some are sent to remind you that peace still exists. That gentleness is still real. That faith still heals. The journey of spiritual growth isn't about pretending you're not afraid. It's about walking with faith beside fear and choosing peace anyway. It's about hearing the gentle voice that says, "I'm not like them," and believing it, not because you're naive, but because your soul recognizes truth when it's spoken in love. When the world feels heavy, when you feel unseen, when pain becomes too loud, go somewhere quiet. Sit beneath the sky. Close your eyes. Listen. The same voice that found Emma still speaks today. It might not sound like words. It might feel like calm, like a warmth in your chest, like a deep exhale you didn't know you needed. That's peace. That's faith. That's the voice that says, you are safe now. And when you hear it, even faintly, don't run. Stay still. Let it fill you. Let it remind you that the darkness never had the final word. Let it whisper the truth. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. So, if you've been screaming inside, afraid to trust, afraid to love, afraid to try again, may this story remind you that gentleness is not weakness. It's strength in its purest form. Faith is not blindness, it's sight beyond fear. And inner peace is not a destination, it's a home you carry inside your heart. Thank you for watching Kind Tales. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that speak to your soul. Remember, peace is patient, love is kind, and faith is waiting, right inside you, whispering softly, I'm not like them. Dash dash dash.